the first in my family to go to university. I'm the first in my family to be a scientist, to get a doctorate degree. But there were a lot of challenges on the way. Um, and I know that coming from a place that has been challenging and facing these obstacles, that these have been my strengths. And that I hope for those who are going through tough times or having these difficulties, that this episode helps you get through it or makes you feel less alone. Talofa and welcome to the Samoan Scientist podcast. We are live here on Instagram Live. Everyone say hello. We've got people calling in from listening in from Australia, Arizona, California, Salt Lake City, and this is our first episode in over 6 years. So it's been a long time coming, but I'm really excited that we have our first episode on the Samoan Scientist podcast. This evening, it's going to be um, a bit about my journey and how I got into science. So let's start from the very beginning. Loingo o Amy Mazin Miller, o le nuulo tina, moni sa papali'i, o le nuulo tama, moni o manono. My name is Amy Mazin Miller, the creator of Samoan Scientist that you may see on social media platforms and here on the podcast. My dad comes from an island called Manono, which is in Samoa in the Pacific Islands. Manono is a very small island. It doesn't have any roads on it, so you can walk around the island in about an hour. Oh, hello from West Papua and Otara. And my mum is from the village of Sapapali'i in the big island of Savaii. I was born and raised in Auckland, New Zealand. And from birth, I was adopted into a Balangi family. So I was raised by my mum, who is still a hairdresser, and my dad, he's a cabinet maker. And my nana, she turned 95 yesterday, and she used to do everything. She used to be a taxi driver. She used to wallpaper the old villas in Ponsonby. She used to have like a milliner shop and help with her husband at the bakery. And hi everyone that's joining on Instagram Live. Great to see everyone. And growing up in Auckland, New Zealand, I grew up in the 90s, and that looked like buying $1 pies at the bakery. Do you guys remember that? $1 pies at a bakery, those were the days. And on a Friday night we'd get fish and chips and go to Video Easy and rent out a new release, most likely something like Scream or Charlie's Angels, and then would have to return it the next day because you could only rent it for one day. Growing up in New Zealand looked like riding our bikes outside in the streets, mucking around with the neighborhood kids, and then coming home before it was dark. And growing up, I knew myself as Amy. Amy as the girl who loved animals, who wanted to be a vet, who did swimming, rhythmic gym, horse riding. That was my childhood, and I had an amazing childhood. It was when I went to high school. So I went to St. Mary's College in Ponsonby, all girls Catholic school, 800 girls, a small school. And um, when you go there, music is compulsory in the first 3 years. So the girls had to learn how to play an instrument. But I'd already learned how to play the violin since I was 3 years old, and then the flute, I think I started when I was 5 years old. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just continue with my instruments at high school. In high school, I was very quiet. Um, hated attention. I actually hated my name, like people calling my name. Um, and I guess I was very introverted and liked to stick to myself in school. But when it came to music, that was my thing. Like, I feel like as Polynesians, we're just like entertainers, right? We're like comedians, creatives. That comes so easy to us. And I felt that when I was in the music area at my school. So I was part of the senior orchestras, the quartet groups, the chamber groups, and there was a point in time where a lot of the seniors were leaving, so we had like a turnover of students, and um, a group of music teachers, Rachel Snelling, David Snelling, Catherine Peto, Lynn Inslee, Mr. Dawson, they really saw something in me and they told me that you are now going to be leading these chamber groups, these orchestras. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is the most scariest thing that I ever thought of. I'm not a leader. I don't like to be in front of people. I don't even like to perform. Um, and I remember when I first was told to lead and we had a rehearsal that I actually heard comments from the other seniors saying, no, she can't do this. She's not supposed to be here. I think we should get someone else to do this. And so from that point on, I think it just drove me to work harder. Those are my dogs and they're going to bark through this. So sorry guys. And that hearing those comments from the other students made me work harder. And so I practiced. I was reassured by my music teachers that you are supposed to be leading this group, and they saw something in me that I didn't see. And I feel like for everyone on their journeys, there's going to be someone that has seen something else in you, whether it's being a sports player or being a debater and things like that. And I encourage you to give props to those people because they are just amazing. And for me, that was a key moment in my life to become more confident. That was a turning point where I became less introverted. I became more confident in myself that I could be a leader, and that was through music. So this continued throughout high school. Loved music, was great at it. We also had a combined school orchestra. So we had St. Mary's College and then St. Peter's College as well, a boys' school. And every morning before school at 8 o'clock, we'd have orchestra rehearsal. Actually, I think it was like once a week. And the boys would travel over from St. Peter's, I think about maybe like 20 minutes away, and they would rehearse together. And so there'll be like a flurry of girls outside the hallways walking through trying to catch a glimpse of the boys because we're at an all girls school. And so this music also introduced me to boys, which I hadn't actually seen before. And so I think music has given me a lot of insight to my personal experiences, more, I guess, like a deeper connection of who I am, like understanding the power of music and the self-confidence it gave me. And this has still continued on within my life that I still have a deep passion for music. But why am I talking about music if I'm Samoan scientist? Well, at the end of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So a lot of my friends were going to university. We're a very academic school. They were going, pre-med, engineering, dentistry, pharmacy. But the thing was, I like science, but I was terrible at it. Like my year 13 chemistry exam results, I actually failed some papers and then just passed other papers. Like I was just terrible at science. But because a lot of my friends were going through that pathway, I thought, well, I should be a good person and a good citizen and get a good job and go to university, which is not not true. But at the time, that's what I was fed to believe. And so um, I enrolled in just a general Bachelor of Sciences because my grades were not good enough to go to pre-med. My dogs are playing. Um, okay, I'm just going to get my dogs out. So I was thinking about pre-med, but my grades were not good enough. And then I was thinking maybe I could do engineering. My grades were not good enough. So I enrolled in a general Bachelor of Sciences at the University of Auckland here in New Zealand. And this was another pivotal point in my life because up until that point, I knew myself as Amy, adopted into a Palangi family. Um, I knew my Samoan parents. I knew my siblings. I knew being Samoan was having really thick hair but not liking it, so I straightened it. I knew Samoan meant my skin color. I knew Samoan meant being just different, but not sure in what way. But then when I went to the University of Auckland, I realized, oh, I actually don't know what being Samoan means. And so I was involved a lot in um, like Tuakana groups. So Tuakana is an academic program to support Māori Pacific through their studies. And there I met some incredible people who were so staunch in their identity, like they grew up being Māori, like they lived and breathed being Māori, being Cook Island. Like we had people come over from the Cook Island, Teru Passfield, who's doing his marine biology, Peter Van Campen, marine biology, Samantha Collins, Dr. Leilani Walker, Judy Green, Hone Ropata, like Alex Pivac, like so many amazing people that I met. And I thought, wow, they know who they are, but I don't know who I am in terms of being Samoan. And so at university, that started my identity journey. And I didn't know really what that would look like. And it wasn't until I started my master's. So I did my bachelor's degree, which was 3 years. I did a postgraduate, which was another 1 year, so 4 years of study. Then I started my master's, which was around taro leaf blight disease. And this is a disease that we call linga in Samoa. And what it does, it infects the taro leaves and causes lesions on it, very much like the color of like yellow and green. And it kills the leaves, which means the plant can't get its source of food and the plant dies. And so this linga actually wiped out all of the original taro crops in Samoa, which is extremely sad because at the time taro was the highest export for Samoa. Like that was bringing in millions of dollars for the country. It was the farmers' livelihoods that provided families their food. But then all of a sudden we had this cyclone, this linga coming through, killing all the taro, and there was just no taro in Samoa during the 90s in 1993. And so my work was trying to understand what the linga is, how it infects the corms, how it infects the leaves. And when I was doing that research, I was thinking, I don't think I've eaten taro. Like, maybe I'd eaten taro once, like at Pacifica, but I didn't know the importance of it, the value of it, the staple crop of our Pacific. Like that's who we are as Polynesians. We see taro, like, yeah, that's us. Like that's our identifier. And so my master's allowed me to know more about being Samoan, which was being a taro, really. Knowing more about taro. Aloha, viewing from America, West Coast. Thank you for joining. We also have people on the live as well. And so the skills that I learnt in my master's around the taro leaf blight disease allowed me then to work in Samoa. So I worked at the Scientific Research Organization of Samoa for about 2 years, so we call it SROS. This is really the only research center in Samoa where they do like water quality testing, they create like taro whiskey, breadfruit products, They also do post-harvest work, and so I was there using the skills from my masters to help establish the export pathway from New Zealand to Samoa. From Samoa to Australia. There's a lot of our families in Australia and they love our taro, but it's really hard to access it. So we were trying to figure out whether or not we could send these taro without the taro leaf blight on them because Australia has extremely strict biosecurity rules. So we do all the science behind it, mimic shipments and things like that. And so from that research, we're able, I think it's looking quite positive that we may be able to send our Samoan taro from Samoa to Australia. And to me, I realized that through science, we're able to use our skills to help our communities. In this case, the farmers and the economy of Samoa. You know, you can help a country with your scientific skills. And by living in Samoa, oh my gosh, like I felt like I was Samoan then because I was surrounded by Samoan scientists all the time, speaking Samoan, like having their perspectives from a Samoan perspective, and doing all this scientific work. And that's an experience that I would never get here in New Zealand. And having lived there, you know, living in the climate, being surrounded by people, I learned how to paddle. So I paddled a lot with the Tautai paddling team. I traveled to American Samoa for a competition, a place that I never thought I would go. Um, and by being in Samoa, I felt like I understood a bit more who I was about my identity. Because I had gone from being a child and understanding that I'm Samoan, but not really knowing what that meant on a deeper level, but actually living in Samoa, working in Samoa, really put everything into perspective. And after I had finished my work up at Samoa, I then wanted to come back home to New Zealand because my nana at the time was diagnosed with dementia. So she just turned 95 yesterday. So she's doing really well. But after I finished my work in Samoa, which was before the pandemic, I then came back home, which was great timing because then the pandemic hit. And so coming back home, I'm thinking I still want to be in science, but I want to be a lecturer because I wanted to be something that I didn't see at university. I never I never saw a Samoan scientist lecturer, Tongan scientist lecturer, Cook Island scientist lecturer. There was no one there. And so in order to be a lecturer, you need to have a PhD. And so I went along that pathway. The PhD process is very interesting. I mean, I had a really difficult time getting into the program. So in order to get to PhD program, you have to have certain criteria, and part of the criteria at the University of Auckland is having at least a B plus grade from your masters. Unfortunately for me, my masters was a B minus. And even the process of getting that mark, I had to wait a year. I questioned it. My supervisors said that I was given the grade that I was given. And so the whole process around the masters was just a really horrible and traumatic time because the grade I felt like was not deserved, and I put in so much hard work, and I felt that, you know, I just wanted to blame someone for that because I felt like I did everything that I could and listened to my supervisors, but even that wasn't enough. And so when I came to the PhD process, they said that I'm not eligible for a PhD unless I apply for a special case. So at the time, I had applied for a Health Research Council PhD scholarship. I got it. So I was funded to do work. I had the money. I had support letters from prestigious academics. I had you guys, the community Samoan scientists, backing me all the way. I had the trust, the trust of the community. I had, what did I have? Oh, I had first name publications. And so I created this case to give to the university, and I was denied. However, this whole process of trying to understand what evidence I needed to present my case took 2 years. Talofa lava Sam. Talofa Samoa NGM is on Instagram Live. And oh my god, my grandma got diagnosed dementia last year. She is 79 now, doing okay, living together with me. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. We need better carers. So these are our, also going on Instagram Live for this episode. So I'm just going to read some of the comments. I'm from Pango Pango. Welcome. So the whole process to get into the PhD program took 2 years because the university didn't respond to me. There was a lockdown, but it was the lowest point in my life because I thought, okay, I really am dumb. Like, I really am not meant for science. They told me that I'm not allowed into the university because I got a B minus, and they did not consider anything else. They did not consider my other worth. They only saw the grade, the B minus. And as a student, they saw me as a B minus. And as myself, I saw myself as a B minus. And so that whole 2 years, I questioned if I should be in science. I had no financial income because I didn't want to start a job and then have to cancel it because then I'd starting a PhD. I was just stressed out the whole time and was ready to leave science and was looking elsewhere and talking to other universities as well. But for some reason, and I don't know why, maybe because I felt like a failure, or mostly like my own ego, I felt that if I had not attempted to at least try and pursue the PhD, then I'd be seen less than. So that's why I didn't fully walk away because I had just too much of ego. Like I didn't want to be that failure. I didn't want to fail at things and have that shame. So I persisted. We, with the support of my supervisors, supported me and said the university said I had to do another semester, had to earn certain grades. I think I again fell short of that, but then my supervisors fought for me and went straight to the vice chancellor to vouch for my case, and then I was accepted into a PhD program. And that was a challenge. It almost felt like an impossible feat because at every end I just felt like, I wasn't good enough at each point, kind of fell short at each point. But my supervisors again had that belief in me, like my music teachers, that, I was capable of the PhD, and I knew that I was. I knew that I was capable, but I had doubted myself because the university told me that I was a B minus student, and that's all I am. Now, I've submitted my PhD. I'm talking to you as a PhD candidate about to, or hoping to defend this year. And so the whole science journey was, up to now, a challenge, a fight really about, it's not even so much the content. Yes, okay, science is another language, but it's about all the things that you navigate around it, your supervisors, how to communicate with your supervisors, organizing yourself for experiments, communicating with the university for the organizational processes, trying to get funding to pay for your fees, the stresses of not knowing whether or not you got that grant for next year and having to apply for other things because you're not sure if you're going to have money next year. And so I think, the university does not support us or even support people with families. And to I think I was really lucky with my PhD to have people that were really realistic and really forgiving for life and for things that happen in life. Um, and so now I've been able to explore more about what it means to be Samoan through my PhD work, which was looking at genetics, Samoan traditional foods in relation to health, and type 2 diabetes in our Samoan women. And again, that just gave me another level of feeling like I belong in my community. I think I've realized now that this whole time I've never felt that I've belonged or felt Samoan enough. Maybe that was because I was adopted into Balangi family, or maybe that was because I always felt other than. Um, but through the science, I've been finding more about who I am as a Samoan. By living in Samoa, that gave me such a confidence boost for who I am and that I belong. And then I think with age, you get a bit sick of how people identify you and tell you what to do, and you're like, actually no, I know myself that I'm Samoan and that I belong, and you can't tell me what to do. So it's really a combination of all these life experiences and times and age and people that you talk to that you understand who you really are. As a Samoan, as a Samoan born in the US, Tongan born in the UK, there are so many of us that live in diaspora, and we have to walk between these two worlds. And in the science, in my case, the science world is very heavily Western orientated. That we feel that I often feel that I do lose myself within the work in terms of bringing my Samoan self and my Kiwi self. And now I can't think of anything else to say. So I really want to open it up to everyone in Instagram Live to please ask any questions that you want to know about my PhD, my journey, about genetics, some more traditional food and obesity. Really, this podcast is for you guys, and I will be doing more episodes about these topics because I can only say so much on social media, little snippets of information, but I love to go deep and talk in detail about what those actually mean. And so this podcast platform allows me to do that. We'll also be showcasing a lot of Pacific Melanesian researchers. Yes, there's lots of us out there, and I'm so excited I'm going to share them with you all because there's some amazing researchers doing some amazing stuff out there. So I can't wait to add that to the podcast too. But please, for you guys on Instagram, put your comments below and your questions below so we can do a bit of question and answer. That would be great. Yay! I know, right? So just saw some comments on the Instagram Live. We've got Pacifica Lens Limited, I'm Rangiora, Roots, Pango Pango, Ha'apai. YouTube bots, how can we know ahead of time when your next live is? This is what happens, Stats. Do you also have email? Oh, yeah. So I can advertise a bit more about this live. I have an email. You can email me at salmonscientist@gmail.com. And I can advertise a bit more about when the next live is. I really thought this would be a good opportunity to do the first episode live just because it's exciting. But if you guys want, we can do the rest of the episodes live. But if you have any questions about my journey, PhD, what it's like to be a scientist, um, really this is your opportunity to kind of ask what you want to know, to help with your own journey in science. It could be about the different degrees or high school or my subjects in high school, could be about my identity journey, could be about really the mechanics of Samoan scientists. I don't really share that a lot with you guys. Like I love the social media behind the scenes and the algorithms of it all. So yeah, please ask any questions in the chat. I'd love to answer them and have them on our podcast tonight. That would be amazing. Hi Monica. Instead, Cayenne Curry. Tane Rose. Thank you everyone for joining. Also feel free to comment where you're from. We have people coming from California, Arizona, Salt Lake City, Otara. So it's great to have people join in. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions?
Powered by Riverside FM.
Salofa from Sydney. Through your studies and research, have you found any health conditions to be more prevalent in islanders, more in the US or New Zealand or the homeland? From Samoan Us. Samoan Us. That is actually a really good question. So a lot of my work was around type 2 diabetes. And if we take that example, I feel like overall diabetes for our people, Pacific Islanders, Samoans, we are generally have the highest rates out of the population group. So here in New Zealand, we have highest rates of type 2 diabetes, especially in older Samoan women. In the US, I believe it's the same, particularly maybe the similar highest rates to African Americans and Hispanics as well. In Samoa, the type 2 diabetes just is a nightmare in Samoa and is growing. Um, I feel like with a lot of the metabolic diseases, because we're minority communities and even in the homeland, we always seem to be with the higher rates of diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, gouts, even the rise of endometrial cancer, which is related to um, obesity. And so it is very concerning for our people to be most at risk of these health conditions. But there's been a lot of research and a lot of things that have been happening that have helped people, but it's still continuing to be an issue, so we still have to address it. Patrick Pasina, as Polynesians are our genetic makeup specifically engineered to absorb and utilize taro and breadfruit versus rice wheat-based carbohydrates. So the research of that hasn't been done, but from what I know, we can see within our genetics, for instance, the works that I've done within Samoan women, we can see from our genetics what our ancestors ate. So we looked at Samoan women to see how many were lactose intolerant, and actually 90% of the women that we looked at were lactose intolerant. And lactose intolerance is genetic. So we could see that their ancestors over multiple generations didn't have dairy. They didn't have milk cheeses because when we think about the 1800s in the Pacific Islands, we didn't have cows. We didn't have that as a food option. And so I believe that from the initial research that we looked at, our genetics are naturally more, I guess, familiar with our traditional foods. Food from the land of sea, the taro, breadfruit, yam, coconut, banana, and fish compared to the rice and wheat-based carbohydrates. But even when we look at the research for eating taro, it's taro, breadfruit, the very much slow-releasing foods. They're great for controlling blood glucose levels, much greater than the rice and the breads. So overall, I'd say just our whole foods are better for us anyway in terms of health compared to the rice and the wheat-based carbohydrates. So, Bots, thank you for sharing so much of your story and transparency. I've started seeing myself in the PNW seismology research field. Ah, is that like geography? That's very cool. Love all the work you do, and thanks for sharing amazing journey of your adoption and your connection with food and being Samoan. Thank you so much, Pacifica Lens Limited. JMDZ, how can someone in healthcare wanting to get into research get started? So interested in doing work for people, so interested in doing work for people in the Marianas. Yeah, that's a good question. Um, so here in New Zealand, I'll take that example because that's all I know. A lot of our clinicians will work with researchers. So it's basically, like who you know. But if you just if you had no foundation or nowhere to start, I'd look at the local universities and see researchers in the same area of interest that you're in and email them. I've often cold emailed people and they've been very, you know, approaching. I'm very friendly to give your time and have a conversation. And it's really interesting because a lot of us researchers, we want to work with the people in healthcare. So for instance, the work that I'm looking at now, which is women's health, like I've just recently had a nurse message me and saying that she's just seen a lot of women with irregular bleeding being diagnosed with PCOS, and it's just crazy out there for her as a nurse. So for me as a researcher, that's so valuable, so important insight because she's on the ground. She knows what's happening, and I'm a researcher here just saying, okay, this is what I can provide and this is what we can do about it. So I definitely encourage just to either cold email. I feel like researchers are always interested to look for people in healthcare. So best of luck. Samoan say us. Thank you for your knowledge and sharing. I'm so glad I caught your stream. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Love from California. Thank you. I went to LA. When I go to LA, um, LA, California, end of October, and I didn't get to see anyone in the research area there, but I actually caught a bus from the airport all the way to the hotel. I don't know why I did that. I just felt like for some reason I'd be saving money, but like it was interesting, really interesting to see kind of LA from the different areas. So yeah, yeah, that was a really cool trip. Benji Doc, is the Kirov gene a point you've come across during your research? Yes, this is a great question. So if you don't know about it, you should know what the Krebarf gene, Crebrf gene. So with each of us, we all have different genes. They can code for eye color, hair color, and they can also and everyone's genes can be different. There'll be different gene variations. That's why we're also different. And so this CREBRF gene is a gene variant, and it's slightly more common in Pacific populations and high meds, and it's associated with high BMI, but you're less likely to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So if you have this gene, you may look bigger, but you're less likely to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which is weird, right? Because you'd assume that people who have larger, maybe like me, who are larger, would have type 2 diabetes, but they don't with this gene, which is super interesting. And so the lab that I work in at the University of Auckland, we look at why that is. We look at what's happening internally, all the pathways and mechanisms to see why that happens. And there's also the research team in Pittsburgh who found the CREBRF gene in Samoa, and so we also work with them in America in Pittsburgh. And so there's a lot of interesting work going around the CREBRF. We also had a lot of Māori Pacific women that participated in our study, and we did screen for Kirov. So we're currently analysing that, and we're hoping to share that with everyone soon. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up. If there are any Warriors fans in here, we do have the game at 7:30. So I would like to give a call for any last minute questions because we're going to be watching the game. The Warriors have been, I mean, I'm a fan of the Warriors by relationship association. You know, I'm not really like a sports person, but it's quite exciting because they're doing really well at the moment. Alex J. Time, hello from the Gold Coast, Australia. Ooh, yes, I love the Gold Coast. I went to the Sunshine Coast. This was a while ago, and oh, loved it there. Remind me of the islands. So, any last minute questions about my journey up the wires? Yes. Um, Aside from grades, did you face any barriers with proposing your research topic? Was your uni very receptive? From Anna Ambrosia. Um, for my master's, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so I said to my supervisors, you know, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to have it Pacific related. And so I was happy to work with them in that way. So they were very open to that. When it came to my PhD, I did the same approach, but I was met with a bit more hesitancy. So, like, I went to different departments actually outside of my plant pathology background at the time, and there was just a lot of like no's. I don't know why that was. Maybe I just was a bit general with my topics. But then when I approached my now supervisors, you know, I said, I really want to do something Pacifica related. I have to have that. And I'm really flexible in the science, and that worked well. I would say that my uni overall is a bit more open to, I guess, more combining Western knowledge, Indigenous knowledge projects, but it really depends on who you talk to and the people that are willing to supervise you. And if you're kind of having trouble with that, you know, I would encourage you to keep asking around, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to do the project and you have to enjoy it. It has to be meaningful to you, and it's not worth kind of can confining your needs to meet more the lab's needs, if you know what I mean. And considering it's Samoan-based research in the New Zealand uni, absolutely. I think the great thing within New Zealand is that we Māori have really paved the way for us in the academic space. They have, whew, like I am so in awe of the Māori academics and how staunch they are in creating methodologies and pathways for their people, that we are able to, you know, ride on that, and our work is more, I guess, accepted and more encouraged in a way. So I, for instance, like I have Pacific academics who are professors, and so they have that power to allow me and support me through a Samoan-based research in New Zealand, and we're able to use Pacific methodologies to carry out our work, which would not have been created if Māori had not created those methodologies to start with. So we're very lucky here in New Zealand to have that. Proxy Princess, I'm from California Bay Area. Woohoo! I haven't been to the Bay Area. Maybe on my next trip. Um, Thank you, everyone, for joining me for the first episode of the Samoan Scientist podcast. We did it. I really appreciate you guys. Um, what are your... Okay, someone just had another question. Samori psychologist. What are your next research plans now that PhD is complete? That is a great question. So now, this year, I am sharing back my PhD findings with you guys. So at the moment, I am creating booklets of my PhD. So it's going to be a summary of my PhD findings, and I'm going to share with everyone. And I'm also sharing the results to our Samoan women that were part of the study. So if you're part of the Career study in Cayman, we are currently creating your result booklets for you. We're going to be connecting together, and together we're going to be creating a resource to share my PhD findings, and maybe a documentary, it may be like a comedy skit, it may be like a book or like an art installation. So keep an eye out for exciting things to come, because I'm going to be sharing all my work that I've done over the past 4 years of my PhD with you guys. And on that note, whawhai mole awanoa. Thank you very much, everyone. And that's us.